It's happening. The market is rich. People like to consume on the continent. And so, what you have to do is take what you know and sell it. Find the gap and fill it. Like there's a mass exodus into Africa. Hey, what's up? Welcome back again. If you are new to this space, I am Nzali, and it's a part of my mission to help Black millennial women create the life that they deserve on the African continent. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you are up to date on all the things that are happening in my life and on the continent. All right. So I promised you before that I would talk about how I turn my skills into cash. So the biggest thing that I find, really the most beautiful thing, not biggest, but the most beautiful thing about the African continent is that, number one, there's so many beautiful, melanated, sun-kissed, shea butter down people. Right? And when you have that many people, you have that many people that could be clientele, which is a benefit to us. The other beautiful thing is that different industries are not oversaturated. So because the markets are not oversaturated, then that leaves us that want to come, live, work, and play in Africa a lot of opportunity to do a lot of different things. So the first part of this is that you have to have the understanding, you have to have the knowledge that this is a real thing. It's a possibility. People are doing it. Like, the market is rich. People like to consume on the continent. And so what you have to do is take what you know and sell it. Find the gap and fill it. So for me, I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. So for this particular video, my concentration is on Ghana, which is in West Africa. Specifically living in Accra, which is a metropolitan area. Okay? So when I came to Accra, I basically didn't have like a full-fledged job. I don't encourage people to do that. Just FYI, but that was the journey that I was taking. That was the self-development that was needed for me. So when I came, what I knew was I had teaching skills, right? And so initially, the first thing that I did was I started teaching online. Actually, I started teaching online before I got to Ghana so that I already had like a flow of clients. Now, once I did that, once I got here, I started to scout the scene on where else I could use those English teaching skills. And so with that, I started tutoring at a language school. Okay. And in Ghana, what you will find is that other Africans will come to Ghana to learn English. So Ghana is surrounded by French-speaking African countries. That's a whole nother conversation about why they speak French. But they will come into Ghana to learn English. So through my network, I was able to tutor some adult learners at the Francophone language centers. In addition to that, I also linked up with some African Americans who had already been in Ghana, who were homeschooling their children, and I also tutored their children in Algebra 2. I did like junior high school science, and yeah, I didn't do English actually, so I'll leave that one alone. So that's what I was doing. Literally, like as soon as I hit the ground, I started doing those things. Now, once I built out that network, then things kind of took off for me from there. And so from that takeoff point is where I want to kind of like drop some of these tips. So the very first tip that I learned in my journey in Ghana as I was turning my skill into cash is that you have to identify what knowledge you have and what skills you have and then sell both. And so what I mean was, I was a teacher. That was my skill. I knew I could teach. So as soon as I hit the ground, I started finding those opportunities. But the second thing was, not only could I teach, but I had knowledge about like teaching practices, right? So as I was working in some of these spaces in education, I realized that some of the teaching practices needed improvement. So that was knowledge that I had that was not being sold. So what did I do? Baby, I started selling that knowledge. So I then started seeking out teacher training contracts. And that's how my consulting kind of came to life. Actually, the first school that I had a consultancy contract with actually ended up hiring me on, and that was the school that I became a vice principal at, or assistant principal, whichever one you use. And in Ghana, we say assistant headmistress. So that first tip was identifying my knowledge versus my skills and then selling them both. So the second thing that really worked for me when I was turning my skills into cash was using my network to build my authority, right? So because you're a younger person in this space, you don't naturally on visuals have the authority in this space. But what happens in the expatriate and the repatriate community is that we all know each other, right? So those people in those communities that share a similar background with you, they need to speak up for you in rooms when you are not there. So what happens is they are vouching for you. They help you build your authority. They help you become like the master of the content, right? I guess is what you can say. And so those communities need to know what you do. Even right now, there are people who will refer people to me because they knew that I tutored, 5 years ago at this point, right? So people will still hit me up. Oh, I need a French class for my child. Do you know a place? Oh, I'm looking for a math tutor. Do you know someone? Are you willing to do tutoring classes for my 12-year-old in English? Right? So because my community knows what I do, they help me build my authority. So now when I go into certain spaces and I say, oh, I do this, I do consulting, I teach, I do blah, 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 I have a little bit more weight to me. The reason this is important is because you are a foreigner in this space. The Ghanaians here or other Africans in the country nationals, they already have their networks. So you have to build your own to help you build up your authority. The last thing that I want to say to you before we hop out of here today is that you need to build community around your knowledge and skills. So it could very well be that what you offer is not common knowledge or a common practice in the country, right? So for example, when I first came to Ghana, the whole wellness thing was just kind of up and coming. People didn't know what massage was. People didn't know about chakras and all of this kind of stuff, right? And so what we did, my sister Afia and I, is we started building community around the things that we had knowledge about. So since you have knowledge of certain things, you start creating events that happen around that thing, exposing people to it so that eventually you can build up a following, you can build up clients, you can build up people that are willing to pay you for that knowledge and that skill that normally they wouldn't have had access to, right? So when you are thinking about living, working, or playing in the African context and you want to turn that skill into some cash, again, figure out the difference. What skill can you sell? What knowledge can you sell? Let the expatriate or the repatriate community help build you as an authority figure for whatever it is that you're selling. And the way you're going to do that is by letting everybody know what you do. And again, last but not least, build community around the things that you're going to sell in the future. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button. Go ahead and leave a comment down below and let me know what knowledge or what skill you plan to sell while you come to live, work, or play in Africa. Again, you can follow me on Instagram, Nzali Takes Africa. And until next time, I'll see you later. All right. Bye, y'all. Now, this is a little secret, okay, between you and I. foreigners are given the benefit of the doubt. I know some of us who are coming from the States, especially Black Americans, we're not used to being given the benefit of the doubt. So sometimes we don't know how to respond to that privilege, right? But the good thing is you need to take advantage of that privilege. I took full advantage. If you're going to let me in the door, baby, I'm going to come in, sit down, eat the whole meal, wipe my mouth when I'm done, and say thank you. And so when you are identifying your knowledge, your skills, and starting to sell those both, use a bit of that foreigner privilege. What that will do for you is it will get you in the doors of places that normally you may not have had access to, especially as a millennial person.